Okay, on to match 5 of our league on Grixis Thieves. We're currently 2-2, so not an extraordinary record, but we still get to try to play to get our money back. We've lost the die roll. And we have a fairly risky hand here if we keep it. I'm almost inclined to and go for a turn 1 brainstorm. So this hand's a bit of an interesting one. If we draw a land naturally, we're looking really good. If we don't and we whiff on the brainstorm, we're going to be a long way behind. And Blightsteel Colossus in hand is awkward as well, so we really need a shuffle effect straight away. And as we're only playing 6 fetches, I'm not sure that we have the best odds of hitting that. The other thing being that if we don't hit a fetch land, we really want to hit a Volk, as the rest of our hands are really dependent on red mana. So unfortunately, so far no indication at all of what our opponent is on. Although we perhaps should have misstepped that voltaic key. And awkwardly, we whiff on a shuffle effect and we find an underground sea rather than anything else. So our hand's looking a bit garbage right now. An academy can't be good for us in this situation, so I'm almost inclined to think something like Blue Belcher at this point. So our opponent's clearly got something complicated going on the other side of the board, which makes me even more inclined to think Blue Belcher. And we don't have a lot of protection at the moment, so we have to hope that we can get through it. So we're not going to play out the Time Vault, the reason being next turn we want to draw the Blightsteel and discard it. We also get to represent mana drain this way, which is of relevance. Okay, and Helm of Awakening. So I'm unsure about that. So this is a Helm of Awakening deck that I think 5-0'd a league recently, and people have been trying, and I'm really not sure how to approach it. I'm not sure if the correct target to force is Helm or one of their business spells. And I feel like, given they have so many 0 mana artifacts, it has to be one of their business spells. On the flip side, it does mean that if we draw Voltaic Care, we win. So we need to misstep this. And the fact that he's casting the Lotus can't be good for us here. Okay, we're going to have to force the Blightsteel. There's no way we're beating Blightsteel from here. And I think Flusterstorm is going to look a little awkward from here as well. Our opponent has enough mana that I don't think it does anything. Okay, so I'm not terribly upset about Windfall here. I think if our opponent tries to do anything else this turn, we want to Flusterstorm it straight away. And Paradox Engine has to be really bad for us. Okay, and paradoxical outcome. So we actually need to Flusterstorm this right now, otherwise we're going to get buried. So we need to do it in response to the Paradox Engine trigger. And so everything of his will untap, which means that if he then, well, sorry, not everything, but all his artifacts will untap, which does mean that if he has another copy of Paradoxical in his hand, we're pretty screwed. It's much more likely that it'll just pass the turn here, but you never know. Okay, and so he's got what appears to be another card advantage card, or filtering card anyway, with a bit of a mana accelerant strapped to it anyway. I don't think we're terribly worried about it. Okay, and here I think we want to take the Demonic Tutor. The reason being, it will cost 1 black to cast, with Helm of Awakening in play. And Voltaic Key will be free. And then we can play land for turn, and go infinite. And there we go, our opponent's going to scoop here. So I think we want a couple of Mindbreak Traps. We definitely want a couple of copies of By Force. I don't think we want to cut all copies of Misstep. So I think Hercules is wrong here. We definitely want By Forces over Hercules Recall. And I think maybe cutting one Flusterstorm here, or a Preordain. So I think we could have gone down to 2 Missteps. He's not got a terribly large amount of one drops. So it's just going to be something like Key, A-Call, probably a Soul Ring. I wonder if maybe the Flusterstorms could have gone for an Abrade and an Ingot Chewer here. And so we have an interesting opening hand here. I'm almost tempted to keep. We're going to have 2 draws to find a blue source, or ideally a black source, but we had to mull. So this is going to get us Misstep, Fluster, Time Walk. Time Vault's a bit awkward again. We seem to be drawing a lot for a restricted card. I think Time Walk might be the card to pitch here if we do need to Force of Will. So we pitched Misstep instead, which I think might be wrong. And so our opponent has to Time Walk into something good here, I think. Which I have a feeling they're not going to achieve. They're definitely considering something. Okay, and that's why we should have kept the Misstep. So unless they've got something like a Paradoxical here, I don't think we're terribly worried. And here we're going to find out whether or not we get to see the card exiled under Azor's Gateway. And it's a Grim Monolith, which I can't help but think that maybe, I guess depending on what they drew, maybe it may or may not have been better to actually just hold on. And opponent's getting a really good mana crypt run here. And unfortunately for us, our opponent's now gone for Tezzeret the Seeker, which gives him a deterministic win here. So if he had one more mana open, he could have put a... He could have gone and got a Time Vault. Actually, I can't remember whether or not Tezzeret puts it directly into play or just puts it in hand. I would assume puts it in hand. So I guess he'll just untap. And unfortunately, that means that his ultimate is live next turn. So we're going to need to Time Walk here. And unfortunately, I don't think Demonic Tutor gets us anything worthwhile. We're a little bit pinched on mana. so it won't let us cast Dak. So we just don't really have any outs here. So I guess we'll grab Ancestral Recall and pass the turn. And that's just going to be a swing for lethal there. So I don't know if there's anything we want to change in our sideboarding here. I think we're already reasonably well equipped to be able to take him off his game plan. I still kind of like bringing the Abrade or an Ingature actually, but I don't know if it's strictly necessary. And we are of course going to choose to play here. And that's a really terrible opening hand. This one's much better. This one we're going to have Mana Drain open on turn 1. And hopefully we'll get a Treasure Cruise fairly soon. And we have that Time Vault yet again. I think we can top Notion Thief. As we probably won't be mana draining anything turn 1, and I think if they gem a Paradoxical, we'd really love to stick a Notion Thief in front of it. So the Helm of the Awakening is actually going to make it possible for us to stick a Notion Thief fairly early. Okay, and this is going to get him his Academy. And so at the moment, we're kind of hoping our opponent doesn't find any action on the top. We would like one more draw step here without having to shuffle. Okay, and we need to mana drain Tezzeret. There's no question there. Now the 1 blue floating is a bit of a worry, as it means if he's got something like a Flusterstorm, we're in a lot of trouble. Fortunately, he just didn't have anything. So now we've got to figure out whether or not we can cast Treasure Cruise. So Treasure Cruise costs 7 here. We have 5. Exile 1 card from the graveyard, so we can actually Treasure Cruise here. And we get lucky and get another Notion Thief, which we can't cast just yet. We're going to play at the Time Vault right now, so that we have a little bit more mana open with Academy. We don't think he's running DAC. He's probably not running anything to actually remove artifacts. So it looks like he's still just digging for another action spell. And we're still just hoping a lot that he doesn't find one. Okay, we're going to get another turn. Okay, and we're going to get a second Notion Thief, which isn't really what we wanted to see here. And so right about now we're completely out of Force of Wills, mana drains, etc. So we're actually low on interaction. So if he actually has a counter spell of any form, so I think we're going to stick a Notion Thief now, so we've got mana up next turn in case we draw anything. And you can see me forgetting about Helm of Awakening there. Okay, and we find a Voltaic Key. So I think we're just going to go ahead and cast that. And I think we have a bunch of missteps, so I think that should be the game. So there we go.